part of a weekly meeting where we do our planning and review session. Same as always. 25 minutes for start, 10 minutes for process, and 25 for planning. Nobody else is on the Etherpad. If you guys want to join in and help take notes, I'd appreciate that. This is Sprint 130913. And so, excellent. And if you're in as a viewer and not as a named participant, if you click on your name in the join me, then we'll be able to see who you are. That really helps us with communication. A lot of what the Dell team was focused on this sprint has been on Crowbar 1, or what we're calling Betty. And so I've been typing in some items here, and then and we can talk about what they are. But we pulled in a whole bunch of changes from Susse's branch of Crowbar. There's some fixes that have come in for 10G, some performance tuning for Nova, for OpenStack. For Betty, our release for Betty is really focused on OpenStack. And it's specifically the 12.1.3 package. We also included EqualLogic drivers so that you can use an EqualLogic SAN as part of this this release spin. And there's some hardware support, which is going to be more internal for internal bar clamps, but for the 6220. That's relevant because there are items with the 6220 where we made some software changes to how we do boot process to enable work around an issue we've been having with the 6220. Trying to think, are there other major items that I should be listing in this, Greg?
Other than the pulled Susse branches, some things, not all things.
Right. Oh, sorry.
That seems about it.
Okay. And Adam, did you guys have Crowbar 1 items to talk about before we move to Crowbar 2?
Might have been a couple of things. I'm trying to think. We just had one bug surface, which I haven't really looked at it yet. It's coming from somebody else on the team, but it's entitled Chef Client runs for multiple roles are run even if the first run fails. Does that make any sense to you?
On an apply?
Yeah.
Yes. We run each thing twice usually.
Yeah, right.
There's all sorts of timings in there that we never went to completely figure out. And when we undo it, usually there's a timing problem that seems to come back, having to do with app repository synchronization and the other stuff. So for a long time, we would just get random, like, apps decided it didn't like the repository at the moment, so we're done. And then you'd rerun it and be all happy. And we didn't go and try and completely run that out of the system.
Yeah. So this particular context is for the Ceph bar clamp that someone raised the fact that if the master mon recipe is executed first and fails, then still all the other mons and OSDs are our run, and they would like to see it kind of give up earlier, I guess, because it doesn't make sense to try and configure the others without the master. So, I mean, it may be that that's something that, realistically we decide we can't change until, I understand that the whole kind of orchestration side of things in 2.0 is going to be a lot better. So, if it's not realistic to do anything until then that could be a valid response to the bug, I guess. What do you think?
I thought that if you've actually done the separation in the element order list, if you fail in that first one, it should have failed all the rest of them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought as well, actually. I mean, I was a bit surprised to read that, and I do have a memory of something else. Like we had another case a while ago where something went wrong in the network setup. It was to do with that domain name validation bug that we reported a while ago, and I thought we had a fix in there. So I'll go back and check that.
Yeah, I thought the apply role function at the end of it, when it's doing its loop, if you failed, it would try it again, but if you failed the whole set, you didn't move on to the next set. In fact, I know that's how that works, because if you fail Nova controller, you don't go and do the rest of the computes.
Right.
But Chef has to really fail. Chef client has to really report a failure.
So, yeah. So maybe it's not, or maybe this bug is actually just talking about what happens within a single node.
It'll try Chef client, and if it fails, it'll try it again.
I mean, maybe the master mon recipe fails but doesn't return failure or something like that. I don't know. I guess we'll have to look into it more.
Okay. Cool. And I was going to try and bring in that FQDN bug where we were artificially keeping it too short. Although it's way down in the weeds for this, what we're supposed to talk about. Okay. So for Crowbar 2, we've mostly been focused on Crowbar 1 for this sprint, so there hasn't been that much. There's been progress made.
I don't hear you if you're talking.
There is the digest. So there is incremental progress on the digest auth. I can actually show that because it's very. Let me see if my system's actually running. Hold on just a moment. Greg, do you want to talk about other things for Crowbar 2 while I try and pull a demo for what digest auth looks like so people at least know how to use it? Sorry, I was muted. I was going to talk about digest auth for a minute, but I need to prep it. Victor, can you give an update on the DevTool migration stuff?
Yes, I'll be writing up an email describing what to do, and then there'll be Flag Day either tonight or on Friday.
Okay. Do we have any concerns about doing it? I'm assuming if we do Friday, we'll do Friday morning, right? So we have time to work it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to jump over to digest and show what that looks like.
I was talking while on mute.
Go
I was going to
ahead.
call out the progress made on the network bar clamp. There's now examples of how to run unit tests at all the layers of a bar clamp, except chess. So there's the, well, except some of the BDD stuff, but he added a set of unit tests for the models, the APIs, and some of the API layers and some of the UI layers. So, and documentation too. So, anyway, that was some good stuff. I hope we continue that pattern as we go forward in the Crowbar 2 stuff.
Okay. So if you've been tracking the auth pieces that have come in, now if you try and access the app, you're going to find that it's trying to show how this is the login, and so this works pretty much the way you'd expect it to work. So this works fine unless you're an API. And that's a little bit annoying. If you're an API, you can go to digest. If you go to the digest page first, you'll be prompted with the digest auth, just like the good old days in Crowbar 1. Today it's hard-coded. The only username that works is Crowbar. I'm trying to get that fixed. You'll be given this very terse user authenticated page, but now when you make calls with that digest session, you'll be told you're authenticated here, and it'll work just like you're logged in as that user. The rationale for doing this is that using a session-based login is great for people, not so great for machines, and so we'll do dual approaches. It'll use the same security in the back end. That is not wired in yet. That's in progress, but that way BDD, which relies on digest auth, or API calls, which have relied on digest auth, will still continue to work. Okay, that is in process. I'm hoping in this next sprint that it'll be fully baked in, since it's needed for digest. The BDD's already passes for it, but the API relies on digest isn't all put back together yet. Questions? Are people there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Adam, anything that you want to talk about for Crowbar 2 in the last sprint?
Filed a couple of bugs, which, I mean, they're just from version 1, but I think they still apply. So there's like some issues with domain name validation, for instance.
Yep. Are you thinking to try and crack open the node object and add the domain validation there, or do you want to file the bugs and we'll figure out disposition of them as we go?
No, I mean the structure of the Crowbar validator class or whatever it's called seems good. Yeah, I guess I'm talking about the schema-oriented validation. So when you mark something in the schema as being a domain name, then that code gets triggered by some validation hook, and so the architecture of the validation seems fine. It's just the actual code for checking domain names, for instance, is buggy, and we have fixes which we haven't pushed yet. Unless Greg has already captured those, I
haven't come in. I'm still looking through those. I mean, there are definitely some breaks. Some of the things that you loosen, I notice, are things that are outside the RFC that are probably good things to loosen. So, anyway.
Oh, really? I was pretty, because I consulted the RFC pretty carefully when we were...
I may be using the older RFCs is the problem. I may not have pulled in the latest ones, but that's just maybe me.
From memory, I think I pasted the URL of the RFC into the patch, so that there was a reference for like where the change in validation, what that change was based on.
Cool.
I think I can check.
Yeah, there's a
that
little.
May not have go true yet.
Yeah, there's a little bit of legacy in this for us because originally, until the alias feature came in, the name of the node was not a DNS entry, but it was handled well before Crowbar really cared about it. And so I think that we're doing some catch up, trying to figure out where to do these validations and things like that. So we definitely do want to clean that up.
Yeah, so I filed the bug. This is following on from my email about where to file bugs, which we should discuss under the process section of the call. But I filed that under the Crowbar bar clamp rather than the main thing, because it referred to some specific commits in that repository. Yeah, I did. Yeah, my patch does refer to RFC 1034 section 3.5.
Yeah, one of the things we didn't discuss in the not coding standards, but one of the things we didn't discuss in that call was actually where to file bugs. That is a missing item. Let me add it to the list of things that we need to cover once I reconnect. That was an important topic for you, and we missed it. Sorry. We can talk about it. We're in the process section of the call anyway, so we can nail that down or at least discuss it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, we've been mixed on using the GitHub bug tracking. Where's the issues? As you can see, there's 29 issues, and we have relatively little.
Hey Rob, this is Randy. Don't forget we also publish our bugs on the wiki too. I'll send you the link in a second.
Okay. Here, would you actually do better if you just posted it into the sync in?
Yeah. Give me a minute. I will.
So so far we're not doing a particularly good job right now of triaging out of the. So we have a couple of concerns: is how to triage, how and when to triage. So this is we need to figure this out, and then we are posting our internal bugs out, but that's not reconciled necessarily with the GitHub. So for now, what I'd been expecting us to do was all bugs for all bar clamps would be in the Crowbar issues list. I've a little bit mixed feelings about doing that, but I think it's cleaner than having the 12 or 15 different issues lists and then trying to review them all. Do people have any comments or concerns about that?
Well, I sent a mail out yesterday to the list. Maybe you didn't have a chance to read it yet, but I did see some issues with that, which I guess could be summarized by the fact that, GitHub, when they built these, they obviously envisaged these things to be per repository because they don't really have a notion of grouping multiple repositories together other than, perhaps by organization. So a lot of the features that GitHub has implemented rely on that expectation that there's a coupling between issues and code. So things like referring to specific commit hashes in an issue bug report or in a comment. The whole pull request mechanism reuses the issues. So if you've got, if you file an issue and then you can reference it from a pull request and the hyperlinking gets automatically handled correctly if it's all in the same repository and so on. So I think as soon as you subvert that expectation, then some of those nice features that GitHub have provided stop working. And the other thing is it is useful to be able to filter by bar clamp. If you're looking specifically for one issue relating to one bar clamp, then it's nice to be able to know there's only one place that could be. But I do appreciate the thing about having multiple lists is more places to check. Having said that, GitHub have drastically improved their whole notification system recently. So in terms of controlling which notifications you get, that it shouldn't be. I wouldn't have expected that the issues that get filed in a particular bar clamp would go unnoticed because everyone should be able to just enable notifications for the bar clamps they care about. And another advantage of that, of course, is that for example, if say if we decided we didn't care about Swift anymore. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but just hypothetically, then we could just decide not to unsubscribe from that repository, and we wouldn't have to get the noise on that stuff.
I actually like what you're suggesting better than the way we had been doing it. Yeah, that makes sense to me. What we can do is look at setting up the process and figuring out the pool feature, and then we can review it next week and see if it makes sense to do the migration. But I would rather have us have each bar clamp. I mean, the reason we split it was so that they could have their own life cycle. They have their own defects. It makes a lot of sense to me. So
there are some things like overall kind of design issues that obviously if it applies to multiple bar clamps, then it makes sense for it to go in the top level repository. So, and I think there are some clear cases of that, and hopefully there wouldn't be too many kind of grey areas. I suppose you might get issues that occasionally you might think, well, do I file this at the top level because it's something to do with Crowbar framework, or do I file it in the Crowbar bar clamp? So there might be a grey area there which we have to decide. But I think for all the other bar clamps, it's pretty clear. Like if it's a database issue, then why not just keep it nicely isolated in the database bar clamp?
That makes a lot of sense to me. One of the one of the reasons I think for us that it hasn't been as much of an issue is that when our QA teams look at the product, they typically don't track issues back down by bar clamp. We file them as an overall whole, but there's no reason that we can't break it back down. So that what could happen in a case like that is that somebody might file a bug that is a bar clamp, related to a bar clamp, without realizing it's in a bar clamp, and we'd have to move it from the central repository into the bar clamp it applied to. However, I really like bugs being tracked to code, and also being able to be tracked, therefore, to tests and docs. It makes sense to me. What I'd suggest we do is take it as a review item, and then bring it back up next sprint plan, and see if we can lock in a decision on how to do it. Does that sound like a fair action plan?
Yeah.
Okay. In the meantime, we should also look at the backlog of issues that have accumulated in GitHub and see if we can draw that down a little bit. So that would, at some point, that means we need to decide how to triage bugs. I would suggest that we Adam, Greg has a request for you in the chat if you haven't seen it. For triaging, I'm not sure that we should try and do this as a live meeting. It might make more sense. Sorry about the dog. He likes bugs. It might make more sense for us to try and find an asynchronous time when we can triage. I don't know. That's another thing for us to discuss. We can bring it up in the design meeting when we go back and review these items as part of that dialogue. We do need to do enough triage. I won't say it right now, but we do need to do enough triage so that we can actually assign and say which bugs will be worked on inside of a sprint and coordinate that. Wow. All right. I'm going to move off of process as per schedule. Good. I think that we're making we're making progress on process. Meeting times, I'm assuming, are still good. Good. Any blocks that we need to be aware of? I know of one. So there's a bug in the initializers that I checked in. Just so you're aware, I have the fix pending, so it should come in very, very soon. Any other blocks? The digest auth is also in there. Oh, good. Thank you. Okay. Deliverables for
by the way,
sorry?
Just in case, worth mentioning, just in case you might encounter this, I don't know, in the with the digest auth changes, are you going to change the authentication realm string at all?
No.
Okay, that's fine then. It's just that I found, we tried changing it a few months ago, and I added a comma in, and it actually exposed a Rails bug where Rails just fails horribly if you have a comma in the realm string. So I thought I'd just mention that in case. Yeah, I've been meaning to. We've got a patch to fix it, and I just haven't pushed it upstream yet. But it's just one of those things that it's totally weird, and you stare at and waste a few hours. So I thought I'd mention it just in case.
Understood. No, I hadn't.
Actually, I think I did because I had it grammatically correct for a while, and then realized I couldn't put the comma in, so unwound it, and that's why you had that weird-looking string in there.
All right.
All right, so I'll put digest auth in here. As a deliverable. It's so close. I'm confident I can knock it out. All right, so I've been typing and not talking. So we have cut over to the dev tool changes we already discussed. Removal of the offline mode code should be coming in, which is mostly cleanup. Digest auth connected to the user model. Continued work on the network bar clamp models. Other Crowbar 2 pieces. Greg, what am I missing? Because I know there's other things that are probably going to come in, but there's CMDB. Oh, Judd was talking about the. It's going to be really fun to fix this in post. In post. So acts as revisioned, right? So Greg, do you think that we're going to do this? This was the new idea.
I don't know.
Okay.
We haven't been working on Crowbar 2.0.
That's true. All right. So we don't know what deliverables we're going to have until we sit down and do planning and see what our time is. I know we're talking about Axis revision gem.
Yeah, and then right. But part of me is sitting there, for what purpose, right?
Yeah, I know. We need to see how it fits. Okay. So if there aren't any other items on Crowbar 2, Adam, do you have any Crowbar 2 items that we should have on our radar and watch out for? Anybody else on the call? I'm singling out Adam.
Sadly, not yet.
Okay, that's fine. What I want to know is if you need something from our team, we want to put it. The purpose of doing the call at this time for us is we're about to go into planning. So I'm guessing some of what the deliverables are going to be, we're going to actually go in and planning. If there's things that you need assistance with or want to focus on and needed coordination, then this is the place to ask.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my perspective, the most important thing is that we, figure out a way of starting to do validation of 2.0 on our distribution, and that we figure out a way that you guys can do easily, whether that's a short-term solution or a long-term solution. So it may even be worth having an out-of-band meeting and trying to get Christoph and one or two of the other guys from my team involved in that, and then we can hammer out, how are we going to handle the whole package and ISO building aspects of things.
Definitely. As a matter of fact, are you going to SUSEConf? Are you going to be part of that?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to, but we managed to get last-minute travel budget, so I've just finalised my travel, which is... SUSECon. No, I'm going to be at the OpenStack Summit, but not SUSECon.
Great. But we can try to pull together a...
Because I'm going to be at...
Go ahead, Greg.
I'm going to be at SUSECon, so bye. Go ahead, ignore me.
So definitely some of our guys will be there. I can't remember offhand if I suspect Christoph will be. Maybe, probably one of our US developers on the team. Well, I guess he would be going. Actually, we have next week. Yeah, it is next week, right? Is it?
Yes.
Or is it the week after? Next week.
No, it's next week.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a hack week for our team, which is a SUSE thing that we do like once or twice a year, where we just kind of go off and all just work on stuff that we think is cool that isn't necessarily related to our day job. Or like it might be loosely related. So I suspect you won't see much activity directly from us next week, from most of the team.
Okay. I won't even leave that in. Good. Okay. I'll start looking at if we can find a space or a time for a face-to-face. Do this meeting face-to-face at OpenStack Summit. Cool. That's when I'm on the same schedule. Otherwise, we have to extend my hotel room. And I would remind people to vote. Today's the closing day of voting for OpenStack Summit sessions. And for Adam, if you want to pass to your team, we're planning to highlight SUSE in the Crowbar session. So it's definitely part of the description, and we wanted to talk about that.
Great.
That brings me to one Crowbar 1 item that's relevant. Also, it's also related to a session at OpenStack, which is we've been working towards a pull from source bar clamp for Nova. It'll be in Crowbar 1, but it would pull in the Folsom bits without them coming from a package source. And so we haven't figured out when we're going to pull in that change, but probably be after we branch Betty, because we don't want it in the Betty release, but I'm hoping we'll get that in the next 2 weeks or so. It is a topic for a presentation we submitted to OpenStack Summit, so if that topic makes it on today, then we're more likely to do the pull in time. And there was also along those lines some discussion about potentially doing a hackfest. So if we did that, it would be between like 10/1 and the summit. So Adam, if there's interest on the SUSE side of helping co-host that or do it, we're not going to do it at the scale we did the Essex one by any stretch. It'll be elite track only if we did it. Probably a 4-hour. And probably no physical presence. Be my guess.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I think I've been talking to our marketing team about it, and I don't think they have the appetite to do all the newbie tracks that we had last time. It just took a lot of organization, and as much as they enjoyed the benefits, I think right now, leading up to the summit, we don't have the time to organize it. Okay. That makes sense. I've been promising BDD videos for a while, and I'm hopefully going to do that, but I'm going to stop promising and just tell people after I've done it. Anything else? Greg, Adam, Randy, Victor, Surya?
No.
Right. Adam, if you could, we need to coordinate about getting the GitHub visibility thing working. What we might do is when we do the research on this, Adam, we might reach out to you individually and just see if we can get the visibility of the bugs right.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm guessing, is it just because I'm not part of your organization, or?
I mean, they're open bugs. I haven't looked at it enough to give any answers. All right. Without any other actions, let's close the meeting a little bit early, and I will talk to everybody on Tuesday. I need to think through topics on Tuesday. Greg's definitely going to be out, so what I'll try and do for Tuesday's meeting is I might spend the hour going over the BDD system and how it operates. Actually, I think I'm going to target Tuesday's meeting about the BDD system.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.
All right, thanks.